I wanted to add a video of how I got to this photo that I had instructions for on how to add light into a photo. And so I'm going ahead and I'm going to show you, I guess, how to do this. This is the final photo that I came up with after our little day of changing sheets, and it's a fun day for us because we have a lot of light in our house, and we also have, especially this time of year, and we also have, I happen to have very light colored sheets, which always makes for great photos, or at least the style that I was going for here. And the style I was going for was kind of a light and airy feeling. And so what I did here was I started actually with this photo, and this photo, there are times that I accidentally underexpose. That happens. But here, I think I was just concerned more about this area on the sheet. I didn't want it completely blown out, but as you can tell if you look over here on the histogram, you see it's blown out. It's probably also blown out back here on the windows. I think it's too bright, and I almost don't like the photo because that draws your attention away. So I needed to underexpose her face a little bit so I wouldn't blow all this out. So that's why I did it. But yes, I also underexposed, unfortunately, at times, just to try and get the shot. So I'm going to show you how to go from that photo to the one I just showed you previously. This photo to the one I showed you previously. Now, the very first thing I do on a photo like this, to see where I'm at in terms of noise, in terms of how much detail I can get out of a photo, I know that there is probably still some detail here, and there's definitely detail in her eyes that I can pull up. So what I almost always do on a photo like this is I start pulling down the highlights way low. I'll pull the shadows way up, and here I think I went to about 65 or so, and I think I took the highlights down to about 75. The whites, I believe I took down to about 70, 75, and the blacks I brought up to about 75 as well. I don't like going completely to the extremes typically because it looks weird, and flat edit always does, and as you can tell right now it just doesn't look quite right. So that's what I usually start with, although actually, let me back up. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Actually, what I do really start with is I come down here to the lens correction tab, and if you flop on that, you'll see under profile here that there's enable profile corrections, and it just corrects for whatever lens you happen to be using. I was using 50mm here. So I did that. Now, when I look at the photo, also automatically, you want to be drawn to the eyes, but I'm sitting here looking at this dragon, Puff Magic Dragon, and it's bugging me. It was bugging me when I first did it, so I probably immediately went in and just cropped. And I just do this by sight. I don't try to get the exact aspect ratio. I probably should, but I know I want my rule of thirds here in her eye to be there, so I know that's probably going to be a good crop right there. This could probably do with some straightening out too. Let's see if I can just do this. I'm looking at the window. I'm just wanting to straighten it just a little bit. I think that was too much. There we go. Now, once that's done, I would come down here and actually do this, where I've pulled those highlights and whites down so I can get a little bit more back in here. And if you notice the histogram, it's more to the middle. I've brought all those highlights and whites down, brought up the shadows and black, and it's pulled this histogram back to where it should be, which is what I was going for. At this point, I look at the photo. A lot of times the first thing I do is I go ahead and pull up the contrast, and on this one, I'm not pulling it up a whole lot because, and I think her skin's a little pink too. I don't want to pull it up a whole lot. I'm not a big contrasty. I don't like a whole lot of contrast. I want to keep softness. because to me she is soft. I want this photo. My vision was to be a very light and airy photo. That's the purpose of doing it and changing the sheets, because I use very light colored sheets, usually white sheets actually. But so I wanted to keep it light and airy. So the contrast I want to keep a little bit down as well. I'm just going to move the white balance down, the tint down a little bit. That's a little too green. Let's go to 7. Also, I use a tablet, so sometimes it's a little oversensitive, and sometimes it's not. Come on, 7. There we go. That's better there. So her skin looks pretty good right now. I could probably go through and check the numbers on it, but I'm not going to because I'm going to keep this short. So I almost always go push the clarity down, especially for this type of photo, because I want a little bit softness, add a little bit of softness to her as well. And most of the time I do play with the vibrance a little bit, especially if I have some nice colors in it. But here, I'm trying to keep it nice and light and airy, so I don't want to mess with it. Now, I've noticed that I want the room and her both a little bit brighter, so I'm just going to bump this ever so slightly. And it's rare that I'll ever go over plus 36. And sometimes plus 60 if I really, really need it, but that's rare. Because you start to introduce noise, and noise I'll show you in a minute. But first, I love how light and airy the background looks now, without really quite getting too bad over here. So now what I want to do, I think her face is still a little dark, but I don't want to bump up any more of the room. So I take my tack tool, which is right here, and this is a really cool tool. All you do is you take it, you place it where you want to brighten, and I push up just lightly, and it brightens up the tones that are there. I'm going to put my tack tool back, and it only brightens up those tones that are in that range, not messing with the other tones. So it's not like a general exposure bump. I think I also wanted to get her eyes a little bit brighter. And if you notice when I pulled up the blacks, her eyes, you can see they're a lot more clear and transparent there. So I have a lot more clarity or transparency to them. Right. I kind of like that, but let me see where I'm going with. I just start playing with the tone curve. Usually I know where I'm at, and I almost always add a very slight matte. I think I'm going to bring this back down a little bit there. And sometimes I'll actually play with the tone curve first before playing with the basic panel. So that looks pretty good to me in terms of exposure. So we're almost done, except if you go down here to the detail panel, it will show you, actually, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put it at a 1-to-1 ratio. On her eyes, it looks, when it clears up, you'll see it. There's a lot of noise. See all the grain here? There's just noise. And once you may not notice it on a computer screen, but once you print it out and it's printed, you'll be able to see it in a print. And I definitely don't want that in a print. So this one, I know I had to bump up the noise more than I like. And I took it up to 30 because she was so underexposed. And that's one of the issues. I should have almost overexposed so I wouldn't have gotten the noise, but that was the choice I made. So I've bumped up the noise reduction to about 30, and there it goes. Now you notice there's not as much noise. You can still see the noise, some of the noise, but it's not going to be that bad. Now when you do a noise reduction, you lose a bit of the sharpness, and things, if you go too far, it can look a little too plasticky, a little too fake. So that's why I try not to go over 30. But you can also add some sharpening. And here I think I was probably at about 40 for the sharpening. But that sharpens everything, and it can look very crunchy if you're not careful. So what I do is I come down here to the mask. I almost always go over what I used in the amount of sharpening. I hit the Alt or Option key, and I click on mask, and I bring it up. Well, this one's not showing it. Oh, there we are. And it shows you, if you look at it, it shows you how much is being sharpened. So I want to bring it way up because I just really kind of want her eyes, just like that, right there. So at about 60 is where I put the mask at. I think I might have written 50 or 55 maybe in the post, but I just look at it like that to see what exactly I want sharpened. And if you notice, her eyes are a little bit more sharp and clear. So if I take it back to fit, you didn't see the noise back in the full view, but now it's gone and her eyes have been sharpened a little. So that's my final product there. I think I also, well, if I also came down here, sometimes I add a vignette, sometimes I don't. Here I think I did, probably about plus 10. Um, I'm not sure why I added it in this one, but that's completely up to you. I kind of like it without, actually. So, that's it. Thanks for watching. It was a pretty easy little edit. And maybe I'll show you guys how I do a more filmic style later on too. So thanks for watching.